Sonic X Shadow Generation just released, and I already 100% the game. So I'll be giving you a review of the game and my personal rating. Warning, this will include spoilers covering Shadow Generation and Sonic Generation parts. Sonic Generation got a remaster, changing a bit of the lighting and giving all console versions the graphics that the PC port had years ago. Though not many things really changed from base generation, besides that they changed the game controls, which can be seen in a negative side because most people may or may not be used to Frontiers boosting. If you know, or at least on PlayStation controllers, Square used to be your boost in Sonic Generations. Now it's just like Frontiers where it's your right trigger, which throws me off personally because that made X and Square both a jump button, which is a little odd, but hey. The game still did play basically the same thing, having modern boost and mainly 3D with just a bit of 2D areas, and then classic being, you know, the old gameplay style with no boost, just pure 2D. Though they did give both modern Sonic and classic Sonic a drop dash, which is kind of interesting. I've been seeing a lot of people look at this saying that the modern version of the drop dash is a bit weird because you have to jump and then homing attack and then hold your jump button to do the homing, to do the drop dash, which is a bit odd, you said. But the classic side, it's perfect. Honestly, it fits very well, and it's amazing to see that classic Sonic in Generation has it, considering we had it in Frontiers and we had it in Mania. So it's pretty useful. We did get a few small changes, one being the Chao hidden across each stage. Both modern and classic Sonic have at least 3 Chaos hidden around. And as much as a pain that seems to be, especially with no guides, just going in blind, like wondering where they're all going to be, do not worry because Sega actually thought this through for the first time. And we have a system where it tells you where like each Chao garden is, or gives a hint towards it, basically. Which is really cool because, I mean, hey, that really helps me, you know, learn the different areas. So, hey, thank you, Sega, for that. Yeah, the only thing I do have to say about it is it's more so just adding stuff to the game, just padding it out a bit to like the 100% completionist people like me. I personally love 100% completing games, so it's a bit weird for me personally. But if you also bought the digital deluxe pack for Sonic X Shadow Generations, you also got the Adventure Sonic skin, which is really cool. But another downside is it doesn't have any of the adventure animations, which it's okay. It's okay. Sega. I know. It's too much for us to ask. And another disappointment is Super Sonic. It's not Sonic Adventure Super Sonic, sadly. There's also the Sonic Jam DLC skin, but I've yet to get my code. Sega, please send this to me ASAP. I've been waiting for this. But here's a clip of someone else I saw on Twitter have it. Considering everything I've said so far, within having the gameplay just being a remaster of the original just Sonic Generations, not changing much, weird wonky controls, and then like the bonus like the Chao and the DLC skins, which is pretty cool. I already loved base Generations. I played it as a kid. Not the full game. I actually started playing the full game recently, like 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. Because when I was a kid, I used to have like Sonic Adventure 1, Sonic Adventure 2, Sonic the Hedgehog 4, and Sonic Generations, like the demos back on the Xbox 360. And I just played those hours on end, never actually owning the real game until now, actually. Owning all of those games now. So it's funny. But yeah, I've always loved Generations to begin with. So I originally gave Sonic Generation a 8.5 out of 10 because man, it was a really good game, introduced me into Sonic, and I really loved the boosting. But again, the remaster kind of adds a bit of wonkiness to the game, but it's nothing that will bring the value down in terms of like below 8.5. I would have to give this a 8.7 out of 10 just because of wonky controls. I would have given it probably 8.9 to 9 if there was, better controls. I know you can change it, but like it's still a bit weird, and how the drop dash work for modern Sonic is still a bit weird. So that kind of takes off points for me. But hey, overall, that's still a good score for a Sonic game. Before we get to the shadow part, why not consider subscribing? I have a goal to reach 1K before the year end, and subscribing always helps. So if you can just take the time to just go down and click subscribe, it would really make my day. Anyways, now to part 4. I know everyone's been waiting for this, especially me, because hell, I remember when this first got announced, I was just sitting there shaking, like, wow, this looks amazing. Like, this has potentially be one of the best like forms of Sonic games, like, because we had Mario 3D World that got ported to Switch like years ago, and it had Bowser's Fury, which was like this cool like openish world type like side mode. And then we have now that same treatment with Sonic, but Shadow, which is really cool. Anyway, the first stage of Shadow Generation starts off with the arc, Space Colonial Arc. I think that's right. And all I gotta say, from like the first like 30 seconds of the stage, you already see how impressive this game looks visually for a Sonic game. And the game controls amazingly. Like, it's the best way, like it's the best Sonic's ever controlled in 3D. Like, I don't know how to explain it. I'm fanboying over because it's just generally that good. Like, when the level starts off with just, you already start off with the chaos control. Like, you have to build up energy by killing like the robots to get like the energy for chaos control. And then you also have Chaos Spirit. Chaos Spirit doesn't require any energy at all, but chaos control requires a full bar. And that allows you to freeze time, which is a really cool mechanic because it can be utilized for speed runs. Because when you freeze the time, it freezes the actual in-game timer. So like for the stage, so you're freezing the time for your stage. So say for example, you were super close to getting like an S rank in like a challenge, on the challenges. You can freeze time, and time freeze for 5 seconds. You have 5 seconds to either get closer to the goal, so you can get the S rank, which is super cool. Like, I love that you can actually utilize that for a speed run. And like they have all these new different abilities that Shadow gets throughout like playing the game and unlocking new areas. Like, you get the multi-spear, allowing you to throw up to like 5 spears. You get the surfing, which by the way it automatically pulls out when you land in water. Only water, nothing else. And then you have this, I don't know what it's called, I don't remember what it's called, but you attack like certain enemies and like you hold the attack button and like you'll send them up, and then you'll like throw them in a direction you choose, and like Shadow will teleport to them. It's like covering a bit of distance, which is really neat, and it's kind of used for like puzzle solving and like different paths, which I find really, really fun. And then, man, you have disappointment. You have the ability called Doom Morph. From what I've seen, most people hate this as much as I do. It just feels so wonky to use. Very, very wonky to use. And I just don't like it in the slightest. But it's okay because they make up for that, because one of the, actually no, the last ability you get is the Doom Wings, which is amazing because how it works in the old world, at least, once you get 50 rings, you can just put on the wings and you just start flying around. But it's like Supersonic, where you drain rings, and when you reach 0, it runs out. But what's another cool thing is, when you go to a stage, it allows you to play the stage with the wings on or with the wings off. They're like 2 different modes, so like they have 2 different leaderboards. And speaking of leaderboards, I sat here and got top 10 on the first stage with the wings on. Or at least at the time recording this, I did. So, but I really love how they handle the abilities, and I love the visuals, the quick time, and like the freezing abilities. It's amazing. Once being the first stage, you're presented with the open world overworld type thing. It's like Bowser's Fury, like how Mario be running around like this open world environment and like random events, like with Bowser. But except in this, you don't have the Bowser, but you still have all this cool platforming and everything just around, and it's super cool because like the more you progress in the game, like after you like beat levels, the more and more the open world, like overworld, like the white space just builds up. Like there's more like more obstacles that appear, more like challenges, crates, puzzles, like platforms. Like there's just so much stuff to do. And like when you reach the final like form of the white space, it just looks amazing because there's just so much stuff around. That there's so much stuff for you to do. Like it's literally, it utilizes all like the abilities. Like it utilizes the wings, the doom morph, the surfing, the chaos spears. It utilizes all of that, and and then it has like little challenges inside of it you can do for like some are like collect rings or collect the clocks, and like you have to like follow the clock that goes like over across the entire overworld, which is really sick. And then on top of that, there's a hard mode. So you have hard mode of these challenges, like of these little small like challenges you can do. On top of, they still have the key challenges from Generations if you like that, which you have to do, by the way. It's still mandatory. So it's really cool, and I love like the stage design it has built around it, and like the platforms. I think it all coheses together to make like this really cool. And honestly, I see this, they did it better than literally Bowser's Fury. Like it's Bowser's Fury, but if it was just 10 times better, in my opinion. Like nobody says I prefer Mario over Sonic, but this literally is perfect. This like, it feels like a sandbox, not saying like that as a bad way, but like it feels like a sandbox to build up to like the next Sonic game. So like in a good way though, like as in like we can get like one of the next best Sonic game, because this already feels like one of the best Sonic games. So that's really cool. The bosses are pretty cool. You fight Biolizard, Overlord, Minfils, correct me if I'm wrong, and Black Doom. Each fight being very straightforward. You have to utilize the Doom powers you gain from playing throughout the game. Biolizard, you utilize Chaos Control to help you with precision. For example, when you're hitting his arm, you can use Chaos Control to slow down time if you're not fast enough to use like the bubble platforms to get on top of his back. You would also utilize it at the end to attack the big spirit bomb, is what I'm gonna call it, which I thought was really cool. And then with the Overlord, you'll be utilizing the surfing and the Chaos Spear. The surfing because the entire fight's on water, and then not Chaos Spear, you'll be using Chaos Control. Chaos Control to slow down like the missiles who shoot at you, to be able to hit them faster or easier, especially the ones that are red, because you can't hit them out unless you do Chaos Control. And then there's the trash you also hit it with. And then there is Minfils, which you would also use Chaos Control to slow down time to help you hit the boss towards like final phase. Makes it a lot easier than just doing without it. You would also use the stupid, disgusting, terrible Doom Morph. Oh, I hate it so much. You'll be utilizing that mainly to be able to attack Minfils. And then lastly, Black Doom. Oh my, do I gotta tell you about this fight. This fight's so peak. In terms of visuals, design, character design, everything. It's so good. With this fight, you literally utilize almost everything. Like you use surfing, because if I remember correctly, the beginning's off surfing. You use Chaos Control to help you gain enough time. You'd also use Chaos Control at the very end for like a cutscene. And then you utilize the wings because you'd be dodging like these walls he put up. And then you'd be also dodging like his attacks. You'd be using the morph when you're trying to like navigate across these platforms to just get like closer and closer to Doom, and you have to hit him like 3 times. Which was super cool, by the way. That entire boss fight was amazing. Like, and the best part about this is that they have like a hard mode for each boss besides Doom for some odd reason. But Doom doesn't have a hard mode, but each other boss have a harder mode with which is pretty cool. And there's also achievement. I don't know if it's just on Steam or if it's on the other on consoles, but the achievements to no damage Doom, which I've done. Funny enough. But hey, that's pretty cool. I really liked it. I'm a fairly new Sonic fan. I mean, like I said earlier, I've played Generations, like the demo, Sonic Adventure, etc., but I never played it until 2 years ago. Now, I don't know too much lore about the Sonic cast. I did know a little bit about like Shadow and like Maria. I know she got shot. I don't remember the context of it, but I remember she got shot in like Sonic Adventure 2. But this game helped me understand so much more. This game dives very deep into the game's like into Shadow's lore, which is insane because like for Sonic part, we don't get this much lore drop. We don't have all this lore coming out of nowhere. But with Shadow, you have like all the like you have to go around the map. There's like these little ships connected with balloons that you pop using your Chaos Spear, and it drop a page from like Dr. Gerald's journal. I think it's like 20 pages. I don't remember the exact number. And then like you can read through it and it'll like explain like all the creations, like the deal Dr. Gerald and Doom had, how Dr. Gerald used Shadow's DNA to build Shadow. I mean, not Shadow DNA, Doom's DNA to build Shadow, and like what was it, the ultimate life form, and like it explained that like what Maria's sickness name was. I don't know if that was already explained before. I'll be honest, I just now knew about this. So like it was so cool. And then like we heard about Bylizard. I knew about Bylizard being like before Shadow. Like I knew that. So I'm not that far behind. And like I don't know, I can't tell if it was being threatened so much, but like more so he was like Dr. Gerald was being told by the government to like give them weapons if he wants to keep being funded by them. So it was interesting. And like almost like a lot of the pages he was saying, I'm a genius, so I'll figure a way out. It's like, you know, like if it was like very like sinister in a way. I don't know how to explain. Like I don't know, it felt very sinister. But it was amazing though, because again, didn't know much about Shadow. So all this lore and like Maria. And speaking of Maria, I loved when they talked about how Maria gave Shadow his name.
Do you know why I named you Shadow? Because without light, there's only darkness. But a shadow will show you where to find the light. Do you understand? I don't want you to be driven by darkness. I want you to be happy. Stand in the light with peace in your heart.
Alright, now we're at the last part, rating the game as a whole. Rating Sonic X Shadow Generations together. Because I already rated Sonic Generation, gave it an 8.7. But man, if okay. Shadow the Hedgehog. Like the Shadow Hedgehog generation part. I will literally give a straight 10 out of 10. Hands down the best Sonic game I've ever played, in my opinion. Not everyone has to agree, but I personally love it. Like they had like the mid-level cutscenes where like you'd be just playing the stage and then like Black Doom would just show up and like transmute the stage some random like event and like a cutscene in between it, and it looks very smooth, like how it cuts between the game to the cutscene and then from the cutscene to the game. And it's like wow, it's like all of it was just together. There's like no loading screen for it or anything. It's just all together, and that's something very rare. Like you'll rarely see in video games, so it's kind of cool to like just to see. And then like the game, like I said like earlier, amazing lore drops. The controls are very fluid. There's tons and tons of paths to go through. They gave us a perfect version of Sunset Heights from Sonic Forces, and this kind of really just shows what Sonic Forces could have been if they just walked in. Like that's insane, and like I just can't fathom how good they did with this entire like Shadow part, and they should keep this up because this would bring more light to the Sonic community, like the Sonic franchise, because like right now we know that there's gonna be a movie DLC that's supposed to be showing off like you know, Sonic Hedgehog 3 movie coming out, but as a level for Shadow. And we're getting like a whole alternate skin, which is cool. But like, I remember back in the day, like Sonic Gen was praised because like it was like the only good Sonic game around this time. I think besides Unleashed, but I think at that time also Unleashed was getting backlash for some odd reason, considering everyone now loves that game. But now we're in a era where Sonic's actually in the public, like in a positive light now, where it went from being just told as like a mediocre franchise, like a 4 out of 10, 3 out of 10, and now it's up higher than ever. With right now 2 movies that are doing phenomenal, 2 phenomenal movies. We have a third one on the way in December. Then on top of that, we got 2 good games: Sonic Frontiers, which I have like at 8, and then this game. Like, Sonic fans, we're eating, man. We're eating, bro. And I'm really excited to see where this takes the direction of the next Sonic game, because this is just a perfect game to me. And if they were to keep this up, their reputation for Sonic, like the Sonic franchise, would go through the roof. Like, you gotta think about this for a second. Sega, between Sega and Nintendo, Sega charged like, this game's $60, but normally they charge decently cheaper, while Nintendo just charges very expensively. So if they can like find a good pricing range with this type of quality game, this can literally be the best like platformer games ever to be made. So which is cool. But if I had to rate Shadow and Sonic like together as one full package, I'd give it a straight 9.2. Mainly Sonic Generations holding it down, because like I said, I have Shadow Generations at 10. Sonic Generation is just holding it down a bit, keeping it from a perfect 10 out of 10. But anyways, thank you everyone for watching till the end. Until next video, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.